First of all, I would like to thank my students already joining this free Discord group, which is available for my students. If you haven't joined already, please send me a message via WhatsApp or email. I will pass you the link to join. This is a free resource that we have to connect all the students worldwide, but also it is a good way to gather some questions so that I can make video like this. Hopefully that they will not be boring and useless. Actually, they could address some real things. And the first topic that I would like to touch on, it's actually quite interesting question that I received recently in the Discord group, which is, how do I know if I'm meditating correctly? What are the signs that I am in a meditative state? That's a quite of let's say difficult question to answer to a certain extent, because the experiences cannot be shared through words. We have to make them firsthand, and that's a kind of a limitation that we have as human beings. We have to go through certain things to actually live and live those experiences, have an idea about them. But of course I will try to clarify and hopefully give some guidance about this that can make us understand that we are moving in the right direction. And probably moving in the right direction, it means understanding when we are moving in the wrong direction. Because if we know that we are moving in the wrong direction, then naturally we are going in the opposite way, which is the positive, the good one, which we want. So rightfully, this student is asking, what are the markers? So, how do I know that, I am meditating correctly? I have energy sensations in the body, I have heat, I have various kind of sensations, but how do I know that I am in the meditative state? And this is a kind of a tricky thing to address, because usually we meditate on something. Actually, before I go into that direction, I want to say what we usually say that meditation is about in the Nei Qi Gong system. It's a particular psychological and physical state that we are either in or not. This is not something we can decide to do. We do in the practice, in certain programs, certain exercises that hopefully will trigger that state. But eventually being in that state is not down to us. It's not an act of will. It's actually an act of undoing rather than doing. But I will try to get into that very little. To give a very short reply, meditation is not an experience. It's actually the experience of the experiencer, which means the experience of yourself. At the core, all the serious spiritual tradition, they agree on this, that actually fundamentally meditation is the essence of our nature. Even in the Tibetan tradition, in the highest form of the Tibetan tradition called Dzogchen, they refer to it as the great natural perfection of the mind, the natural state of the mind. It's called Rigpa in that tradition. But leaving those traditions apart and just trying to talk about something that we can really relate and understand each other, otherwise we might make the mistakes of going too mystical about certain things. But we have to investigate ourselves with what we have rather than going through concept. That's why meditation most of the time is misunderstood, because it is believed to be recitation of a mantra, the visualization of an image of a Buddha or some kind of form that we rest with our mind upon, or at least we try to keep our mind back to this kind of track, this kind of guidance when the mind wanders around. And this is the normal experience that we all have in the beginning, when we experience what it is preventing us from being in that state, from recognizing that deeper nature, that foundational level of our existence, which is actually quite easy and simple to experience, but unfortunately the mind makes it very complicated, and because it thinks it's quite a boring experience, because it hasn't gone very deep into it, it actually wants some kind of experience, entertainment that is going to make our life more interesting. I said briefly, and probably you might not even catch it that much, that meditation is the experience of the experiencer, which means is when our consciousness is aware of itself. And of course that kind of process, it has also some energy impact. Even when I mean energy, I don't just mean subtler form of energy. I mean, and when I mean subtler, I don't mean something you imagine. I mean actually something still perceivable physically in the body. But I want to say that when we are in a particular state, such as a meditative state, even the body, the tension of the body, the stiffness of the body is released. And we don't even need to be in a particular posture, to be honest. Of course, in the beginning, it is helpful to sit and do certain things, because like when we train on something, it is better to train in the optimal conditions. But eventually, once this state is kind of recognized and cultivated and preferred to the entertainment of the five senses and all the business of life, this choice will will create a sort of a transition in terms of our way of functioning in the world, from actually thinking, analyzing attitude to a more being attitude. And this being attitude, this meditative state or essence, is very misunderstood, because we might be in a state even without thoughts, but the idea of ourself as individual, it's a separate individual from the space around us, from the people around us, it's still present. And I will give you a very simple example. When we meet a stranger, usually on the road or in our work environment, or a friend, or walking around, the first sensation that we have, actually even physical sensation, is to protect ourselves. It's a contraction. And this is the I, this is the association with the idea of being a separate entity in the world, and who needs to survive, who needs to protect himself or herself, and so on. And this is really manifest in a physical form, with some tension building up in the body when we meet another possible danger in our path. And this contraction, which actually my previous Buddhist teacher was describing very well, is actually the essence of the problem. The reason why we are not open and relaxed, and we are constantly engaged with our mind, even when it is not needed, it's because we believe we have to figure things out, we are a separate entity, we have to plan, we have to protect ourselves, we have fear, we have jealousy, we have all the rest of it, which are all based on a wrong idea of ourselves. So, to answer a little bit your question, of course we could discuss much longer about this, and hopefully in the next videos I will try to go a little bit deeper, because it has a very important impact on our life, first of all, and also on the energy practice. And the two things are not really that separate, especially if we walk the path of Nei Qi Gong or Nei Gong with this kind of deeper, more mature attitude. The reason why we are not there yet, when in reality we are already there in this state, let's put it like this, it's because there is too much movement, and there is too much involvement with the senses that is not allowing us to just rest in peace. Not rest in peace dead, but rest in ourselves. Rest with the sense of being, with the sense of that aliveness, constant aliveness that we have inside, before meets the object of the senses, before it meets perceptions, before it develops some form of attachment, a desire, aversion towards the content of its consciousness, of the experience that we are living. So we might be practicing very seriously, very diligently, some form of meditative practice. And there are two things, or maybe even more, that can happen. Two are coming in my mind. One is that we truly believe that the goal is the tool that we're using, which is wrong. The tool is like a boat that is going to take us to a destination. Eventually, actually, is going to be a burden that you need to leave to walk freely once you reach the destination. Of course, you can use it to help others to do the same work. The other one is that, which is the common thing that happens to everybody, even to the ones who actually will get attached to the tool itself, it's that we sit in a meditative posture, we try to do some meditative exercises, and the mind goes all over the place. It's just a pain to be there. And what happens is that the mind goes all over the place, and then we we have a conflict because we want to stop the mind doing that, and good luck if you try to stop your mind. It's not going to work. You're going to create even more tension. So now you have two problems: your mind going around, and while you're trying to do some kind of meditative work, and you judging your mind, judging yourself, creating more conflict, that this thing is not working. And actually, that thing is really working. Because in the moment that you stick with it, just the fact that you observe the content of your consciousness, which is full of things, that observation progressively, if you stay with it without judgment, is going to dissolve those elements. Which means that the process of meditation is actually emptying your consciousness. It's emptying, call it the mind, but in reality, even the mind is an appearance within consciousness. So the process of meditation is actually first to see all our mess. And it has indirectly nothing to do with energy sensation. Energy sensation will be a consequence of that. In fact, we don't need to do energy practice to discover this aspect of ourselves. But of course, this aspect of ourselves will have a great impact on the energy practice, even in our ability to progress and to reach higher states and to do Qigong and all the rest of it, unless we use some kind of external help to do those Qi demonstrations. So, maybe it's a long video, maybe I packed already lots of things in it. I want to leave you just with a very simple thing. The process of discovering what meditation is about, which is the same discovering who you are deeply, it's the same. It is not about adding something, although it looks like sometimes we're using some tools. Actually, those tools are helping us to remove, to dissolve things. And it is quite uncomfortable sometimes, because the mind might get irritated, might get angry, we might see how impatient we are, we might see many things happening. So we just have to be patient about that, okay? And so the process that it's actually a process of emptying ourselves, sometimes it goes through this process of actually seeing all that chaos. And the right approach is just to stick with it, which is not a pleasant thing to do, by the way, to see how we are, that we are totally, our mind is totally fragmented, especially nowadays with social media, phones, TikTok, and all the rest of it, that we are not able just to do nothing, which is actually probably another topic for another video. It's the best training that you can have, just to be quiet and do nothing. So the process of discovering this, it's a very liberating process, because it will transform the way you live, or at least the way you handle things in life, and things will not be that important to a certain extent. So my suggestion is you cannot actually analyze which level you're at. A teacher or somebody who's more experienced in the path, more trained, so to speak, a more trained mind can see where we are when we are not able to see it for ourselves. So the process is about sticking to it, and do not try to create images, do not try to compare anything, because what you're trying to discover is actually empty, but not empty in a dead way, empty, full, alive with it. And this seeing, this discovery actually really dissolves the boundaries that we have between ourselves and the world. This is the real meaning of a spiritual work, in my opinion, which of course in our case we're quite lucky to work with vital energy, because this can really take our possibility to a higher degree. So I hope that I clarify a little bit. Please comment below, please join the Discord group if you are one of my students, send me a message or WhatsApp, and feel free to suggest topics to connect with other people. Have a good day.